The friend that I was telling you about, or mentioned before, he said to me the other day, he's like, after everything you've been through, I don't know how you're not overweight, drinking a heap, and taking drugs. And I said to him, I was like, well, I wouldn't have my wife, and I wouldn't have our 8-month-old son if that was the choice that I made. It was like a super easy choice, because it would have been the thing to do. Is like the excuse, well, I've had all these things, so all I do is drink, smoke, take drugs, and the world's against me. But I mean, like that was part of me for a little while. There was the drinking side of things, and then I woke up one day and went, I'm sick of the hangovers. This isn't good for my relationship. I just need to stop, and I stopped drinking maybe 4 or 5 years ago. But that's the other part to it, is like the decisions that you make, the resilience that you have. Because like for me, it's like, what are my other options? I throw my dreams away because I've had something bad happen to me, or do I just carry on because the upside is infinitely better than staying in the position that I am. And if I stay in the position that I'm in, then I can just blame the rest of the world for the rest of my life, and I can be miserable, or I can go out there and do something. And I'd rather go out there, do something, and find out that it doesn't work, to say I've given it a crack, than to be the one that is sitting at home drinking a weekend and feeling sorry for myself.
Hello, everyone. This is Unfiltered Conversations, and with your host, Michael Yearby, and we're back with another grand, spanking, new, and wonderful episode with Hadley Nightingale. He's the CEO of New Zealand's property buyers, but his road into property wasn't polished. Before building a buyer-focused investment company, he drove road trains, working in mines, went through years in the family court system, learning about property the hard way, right? Today, he's going to help us and help everyone, especially buyers, to avoid the mistakes, the pressures, the bad advice that cost people years and thousands of dollars. This conversation is about wealth, responsibility, resilience, and what freedom actually costs. Hadley, thank you so much for being on the show. Appreciate you.
Thanks, Michael. Appreciate the intro, and looking forward to the conversation today and see where we go.
Yeah. So, Hadley, when people meet you now, as the quote unquote the property guy, right?
Yeah.
What part of the road or the story or version that they see of you wish they understood about you?
The struggle, mate, because I mean, like, I am where I am now. We've got a team of 13 people, own a property portfolio, but it wasn't always like that. We've grown a business really quickly, but the struggle for that was like the first 10 years of buying the wrong property, working day in, day out, as many hours a day as I possibly could to try and make enough money to pay for a property. And then working through that process, and like where I am now is like a 20-year road. It's like a 20-year path. It's not like, hey, we decided last week that we were going to do this. And like I've had a couple of people say to me like sort of overnight success, but it's far from it. And it's more so the fact that like our social media is like 4 months old, 5 months old. There's 300 videos on there, and the first ones were atrocious, and we've just got serious about it since sort of February. And so it's like, now that I finally, showing a face, there's like, you can see some stuff and we look like we're doing okay. But the road before that was very different.
I bet. Being in New Zealand, I know the laws are quite different, especially than most countries, right? Because New Zealand really prides itself on its pristine, rich, countryside. How do you, come in and as a property realtor, really explore that and still, I guess, not disturbing that vitality? Do you, do your investors do transform the land in any type of way, or do you try to, I guess, keep as natural as possible?
Try and keep as natural as possible. I mean, we've got a pretty amazing country. Most of the stuff we do is residential, and it's in cities anyway. So there's like the
Mm,
zoning laws
okay.
and things like that come into effect. I mean, like most people think development, or from like a New Zealand perspective anyway, like development's the place that they want to be.
Yeah.
But I think the thing for that is like it seems like the sexy thing to do. Like, oh, I'm
Mm,
going to become a developer. But the struggle for developers is real. The cost blowouts, the experience that you need to have. If everyone made as much money as what they thought developers make, then everyone would do it.
yeah.
And if it was easy, everyone would do it as well. It's not.
Mhm.
It's a real art and it's a real skill, and
Right.
you've got to have some real resilience and tenacity. So, like for us with clients, and even for myself, and I don't do developments. There's too many moving parts for what I like to do.
Yeah.
Just like to try and keep things simple, easy, and executable, rather than trying to chase the shiny object of something
Mhm.
we potentially can't deliver on.
I got you. You said, and you said it like, in the first question, like how you built your business and how it exists now. What do you see, I guess, what do you see that I would say that happens that the everyday buyer that made you, want to stop complaining about starting a business and start building something?
I think it's like more so for me around starting the business side of things
Uh-huh.
was that there were people in the market that were going up against real estate agents all day every day. The sellers have representation, but the buyer in New Zealand anyway at the time was the only person that had no representation through the entire
Mhm.
transaction, other than their lawyer. But the thing with it is like that was where I saw the opportunity for it, and we sort of started out slowly with building that, and then over time, because we had to prove the concept because it was non-existent
Mm.
prior to that. And I mean, even now, there's like three other companies that are established that do what we do, but it's still a very quiet market.
I love that. I love that. Jeff Bezos said it before. He said, if you start a business, a unique business, roughly you have anywhere between 12 to 16 months before someone sees what you're doing. They try to copy your business through. So he said, get smart on the things that you're doing so that your processes and your brand is established. So I love that. And I love that you have that same mindset and what you're saying, that it's a quiet market, but you guys are establishing it, first, and you guys are doing what you need to do, especially with the investors in property, because that is very huge. Before the company, though, before the property wins, before people now they see you as a CEO, they trust you, right? They trust
Yep.
your strategy. How were you in life? How did it feel? What was it mostly survival for you?
100%, man. I mean, there's the saying that the struggle's the gift,
Yeah.
and you can't always see that at the time that you're in there, but that's the thing that builds that resilience and that fortitude in you is going through that. I mean, I bought my first property in 2006, 2007, just before GFC, and
Mhm.
it was really a case of like, property's never gonna be cheaper. They're not making any more land. Get in now. If you don't get in, you're never going to get in. And it was like the same thing that happened back in 2020, 2021 here in New Zealand anyway. And we've had prices come back sort of anywhere between 16 and 27% in different places.
Wow.
And I mean so the thing is that I got caught up in that. Moved to Australia, was driving road trains, was doing mining, and my philosophy at that time was like, if I can just stay awake, and more so in the truck driving side of things, like if I can just stay awake for as long as I possibly can and keep the wheels turning, then I can make
Mhm.
some more money. And my philosophy was one of like, if I just work harder and make some more money, I'm going to get myself out of this. Um, but I think over time, your what you think you can do and what your body allows you to do, from sleeping 4 hours a night, 5 hours a
Yeah.
night for years on end, pretty quickly catches up with you.
No, 100%. And I like to go back to, that work ethic that that you first built and you're talking about. You talked about the early mornings, basically doing everything. But people don't know you actually work for a big dairy farm, and it kind
Yeah.
of started at 3 a.m. in the morning, I think it was, and those long days, real physical work, that
Yeah.
labor. What did it teach you about effort that still shows up in how you work today?
I think it's just been like the hard work's been instilled from that.
Mm,
Like if you got to work long days, I don't complain about it. It's just what you've got to do, right, to provide for your family. And I think that's probably one of the biggest things is like it's easy to sit there and complain and go, this is too hard, poor me, why me, why is this happening? As opposed to going, well, look, I'm the one that's been here for 100% of my life. I'm the one that's made the decisions to get me to where I am today.
yeah.
The external factors are there, but at the end of the day, you're the one that makes those decisions. And I think through that process, through working on the farm, because the other thing is too, like the elements are unforgiving. You're out there in the rain, you're out there in the cold, you're out there in the hot. The work's just got to be done. And so when I suppose the struggle or the unrelatability part comes back to me is when people are like, oh, I work a 9 to 5 job and I'm really stressed and I can't handle it. Or, I'm working too many hours. And you're like, well, try and go and work on a farm and see how you get on. And I don't mean to say that to sound like arrogant or anything like that. It's just, I think when you put in those hours at an early age, you become calloused to working those
Mm,
hours and putting the effort in. But I also think that's a trap as well at the same time because you get yourself into a situation where you're quite willing and you're quite okay to go out and put yourself through hours of work, but it may also not be the best use of your time. But you're like,
yeah.
well, I've already been here for X number of hours, so I'll just do a bit more. I'll just do a bit more. But there's things that go by the wayside at the same time as well, like family, like social life, etc.
And you're not wrong in that. It's like I want to explore that discipline you had, right? That same discipline that shows up now and how you think about your clients, right? And deals. And your clients, say your clients, they work as hard as you worked, and now they got the funds and the money that they want. So now they come to you. They say, hey, they want the perfect house. They want that dream house, but the perfect house really never comes along. So how do you teach someone to choose well without waiting forever for that perfect house to come along and move forward with you guys?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the big thing is that, and it's like really easy to say around, look, don't you just can't be emotional about some of these decisions, but because it's money and because it's housing, everyone gets emotional about it at the end of the day, and so it's really about just putting the numbers forward and going, well, this is what the project looks like, this is what our costs are going to be, this is what our rent's going to be, here's what our cash flow is going to look like, here's our equity upside. This is how it all fits together. And that this is the deal that works today that's in front of us. We might come across another one tomorrow. We might come across something else in 2 months' time. Who knows? But we
Mhm.
just have to make a decision on the information we have today. Because
Mm,
if everyone was a fortune teller, then they wouldn't need anyone else. They just go off and do their thing because they'd know what the future would bring.
yeah.
And so, I mean, like hindsight's a great thing, but you've just got to do as much due diligence up front. And it generally tends to be with people where they get hesitant on buying something. And then
Mhm.
2 months later, like, I really wish that we bought that property a month ago. We were waiting for something better. It's like the grass is greener, right?
Yeah.
It's not most of the
Yeah.
time. And it's the same with like people selling houses that, generally the first offer they get's the best. And then
Yeah.
offers generally tend to go downhill from there. But they think they can get another 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 grand if they just hold off a bit longer. Um, 9 times out of 10, that just doesn't happen for them.
So I guess what is the difference between patience and waiting for a property, right, or that perfect home to avoidance?
I suppose we're not patient. We're strategically aggressive. Well, we're
I love
aggressive,
that.
but strategically.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
the problem with patience is that you let stuff slide. You go,
Mm,
we've got all the time in the world. Oh, we don't need to do anything.
yeah.
I think there's a big difference between, yeah, strategically aggressive and recklessly aggressive. So
Mm,
we've got the strategy in mind, and then how do we aggressively find that property that fits that strategy that's going to work for us, as opposed to, hey, any property will do, let's just go and buy something. That also ends badly. But so does patience to a
mm,
degree as well. That
hmm.
that you need to, but because as soon as you're patient the whole time, like I say, life goes by.
Yeah.
We're just waiting. We're just waiting. It's okay. We've got time. We're patient people, and nothing ends up happening.
So what standards are like non-negotiable for you and your company as you guys aggressively try to acquire properties?
The standards are around, like, we've got our thresholds in terms of what we're going to buy property
Hmm.
for people, and we don't let those standards slip.
Yeah.
We could probably do more volume as a company, but I think the problem is we care. Well, it's not the problem; it's just the reality. We care too much.
Yeah.
And so, like, we're not interested in just buying anyone anything, because the other part that we do too is we also renovate projects, and we also property manage
Mm,
properties as well. So, it's one thing to buy a property and they say, hey, look, all the best. That's the property manager's problem now.
yeah.
But when you look after the whole thing from start to finish, you carry the weight of that right the way through. And if there's a problem with renting it, well, it comes back through to the acquisition, and we didn't quite do our job there properly, but we've got to fix the problem. We
Mhm.
can't just, hand it off to someone else to go, oh, well, not our issue.
Feel that. I feel that. And that connects to another line of yours that feels just as sharp as you said. You said agents work for sellers, data works for buyers.
100%.
What are you really asking people to stop believing?
Stop believing everything that a selling agent tells you is really
Mm,
the pointy end of it. And this is like regardless of whether you're in New Zealand, whether you're in the States, if you're
yeah.
in, it really doesn't matter. You turn up to an open for an inspection or an open home, and you walk in, and the selling agent says to you, hey, what do you think of the house? Do you like it? Oh, have you got pre-approval? Have you got a budget? And the first thing most people say is, yeah, hi, yeah, it's a lovely house. I absolutely love it. I love this part of it, and this part's really lovely. I don't know about that part, but if I bought it, I'd do this, this, and this to it, and yeah, I think it'd probably be worth some more. What do you think? Oh, yeah, I think it'd be worth some more. Have you guys got a budget? Yeah, we've got a budget. What's your budget up to? We can afford to spend our cap is 750,000, and that's what we're pre-approved to. But I think we'd probably only pay, I don't know, maybe 680 for this one. I think, and they go, okay, cool, no worries. And so when they go and put an offer, and they go, well, they've got 750 grand to spend. They love the house. All they're going to do is those two little things to it, so it's not a big issue. We know everything about what they're wanting to do. Um, they've done no research into what the market comparables are. They've given the agent a number, and they're like, right, cool. And then the agent rings them and goes, do you want to put an offer in? They go, yeah. I think a really good starting point for this would be sort of 670, 665, somewhere around there would be a good starting point for the vendor, because the vendor wants 800, but I think we might be able to get it a little bit less than that.
Mm,
And they've framed exactly what you were looking, well, exactly what you've told them back to you, and you've probably paid 50 grand too much for the place. And they go into the vendor at the same time. These guys have got 750. They love
mhm.
the house. Let me go back and tell them you want some more. I'll bump them up as close to that as we can get, and we should be able to get something like that.
You know what I like about that, like you talking about like not just the market talk, it's the decision theory in which you talk about, like, and how you express that. And one recent thing you talked about, you said if you had to start all over again, you would first go out and sell something and validate the product before building it. How has that principle shaped the way you make your decisions now?
I mean, that's more like from a business perspective is
Mhm,
basically what we do.
mhm,
Is that if we're going to test a new product, let's go and sell the new product first before we've obviously got an idea of what we're selling and what it needs to, the delivery of that, and what that needs to look like.
mhm.
Um, but why would I don't understand why you go and waste months on R&D to go and develop a product, develop a course, develop whatever it is that you're developing fully
Mhm.
before you've even tested that the market's willing to pay you for it. So, I mean, it's like, if you were building a course, for example, go and sell the course. Obviously, you've got an idea of the outline for it. Pre-sell it to say that it's starting in a month. Get 10 people to buy your course, and then
Mhm.
you go, right, it's worth buying.
Mhm.
If in that time frame you get one person that wants to buy your course, it's probably not worth doing. Give them a refund and move on to your next idea, and then validate what you're doing thereafter. So I think that's the market's the quickest way to tell if you've got an idea that works. But I've only learned that recently. It wasn't something that I found out 5 years ago.
Mm. Okay, because I heard that, from, I believe it was a guy named, I think his name Ryan Presley. He was on, the DOAC, podcast, and he was
Okay,
talking about that. I forgot his name. I think it's Presley. He was on,
Diary
a
of a
podcast.
CEO.
Diary
Yeah,
See. Yeah. Okay, yeah, and so I was like, "Okay," and he said the same thing you said, so
right.
it makes so much sense, and it resonates so much with me, and I was like, "Okay, that does make a lot of sense." Like, test the market first, see if it, if something come out, and then if something does pan out, like people do like it, and it increases, then you have something to start with. So,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. Spend some money on marketing first before you spend a whole lot of money on development.
Yeah.
Because at least if you're spending money on marketing, you're building an audience at the same time, and you can get your word out. You get your voice out there, and more people know who you are. If you spend that same money on a product, then you've got to try and find some more money for marketing. And at the end of the day, no one can buy a secret, so it needs to be out there and in the world. And if it works, great, you've got a product. If it doesn't, you've got an audience.
And you're right, because you talked about this on, Freedom Nation, when you basically argued about validation before elaboration, and
Yeah.
sell first, then build the machine. And that feels like, the core principles, right? That we should be shaping our stuff, behind. So I love that. Was there a moment when you realized your head, could no longer, um, I would say, be the operating system of your company? Like,
Yeah, we had, so part of the in terms of, sorry, yeah, so in terms of how we started, was we started as the buying aspect of it. Then
yeah.
I came home one day and I'd had a conversation with a client, and he said, "Look, I've got 15 properties that I can give you if you start the management side of things." Came home, told my
Mm,
wife. She sort of looked at me sideways and went, "How are we going to do this?" And I'll just work a bit harder. Then a month later, the same guy's like, "Oh, look, I've got a whole lot of projects that are happening. Um, can you help me out with those too?" So it ended up to the point where I had like three businesses, well, three offerings.
mhm.
I think the buyer's agency at the time was doing maybe like 400 grand a year.
Yeah.
Um, and so it was like me, one other person doing 400K turnover, which was great. But then I started the next one. And then shortly after that, we started the next one as well. So the issue that we then had is that we've got all these offerings, and to do the other offerings, I needed people that knew what they were doing. Um,
Mm,
and so our margins went through the floor.
wow.
Our revenue went up, but because we're having to hire like experienced people, and so yeah, that was sort of the part in it where I went, right, where well, then the mistake I made was is that I went, well, I'm hiring you as a project manager, so surely you know what project managers do. And I'm
Mhm.
hiring you as a property manager, so just go and do it. Like, that's what I'm paying you for. Just go out and be a property manager. But what I learned is that without systems, processes, procedures in place, checklists, that people don't tend to do well, that people don't do well. People need guardrails. Like,
Mhm.
and if everyone did that, they all would have started their own business, because they would have thought similarly to myself of like, hey, look, well, it can't be that hard. Naively thought it can't be that hard. We'll just go out and do it. Um, and so I think that was really the big piece at the end, was like, right, we've got to get a system in place, a process in place. Otherwise, you struggle to grow. And it's the same with business. It's the same with property. If you haven't got a system that you follow, then life becomes very difficult. You end up going extremely slowly.
And you was pretty transparent and honest about, your system, and you said you pretty much, you pretty heavy usage on AI.
Yeah.
In a business like property, what should be automated and what should never kind of be automated when you're dealing with AI?
I think everything with AI still needs to be verified. So
Mm,
that's part of it. The thing with it is that it allows us to do a heap of base research on a particular
mhm.
property, particular area, stuff that would have taken us 2, 3, 4 hours to investigate. It can be done in 10 or 15 minutes while you go and do everything else. So our work from that perspective has changed to more like cognitive load.
Mhm.
And to like the heavier lifting work. The thing that AI is never going to replace is like those human relationships. And that's the key for getting for getting deals, as a whole of those key relationships, people
Right.
talking to people. The information side of things is where AI excels, but it won't replace the relationships.
So, I mean, and I talked previous interviews and just people in general, and just seeing with the explosion and immersion of AI, do you
Yeah.
think it's gonna like I would say saturate the market in a way that we're not hiring qualified individuals in key tasks anymore? Because, like you said, stuff that will take a human 3 hours to process and codify, AI can do it within 10 to 15 minutes.
I think like the heavy admin,
Mhm.
repeatable like email, calendar, scheduling, stuff like that will definitely go.
Mm.
Like we've got a team now who is extremely admin heavy, and it's been part of what I've said to them is like we need to get you upskilled in this because your job will change from managing, like for my EA for example. Like I've said to her, your job's going to change from you managing me in terms of emails, calendars, what I'm doing, travel bookings, to you managing AI agents.
Ah,
So you'll still be managing stuff. It'll just be slightly different
okay.
than what you're doing now. And I think too, from some of the stuff I've read in the states, that there's some software companies, some AI companies that are employing huge amounts of developers at the moment to as opposed to firing everyone because AI can code quicker than what humans can, which we know, but you still need to check your code base and check that everything's still good there. It's not just okay, so give it to the computer and let it run. It's interesting with some of the stuff we do and some of the stuff AI comes up with, and you're like, that's not even close to true, and you call it out on it, and it's like, oh, you caught me.
Huh.
Um, so yeah, it's an integral part, but it also needs to be verified.
You know, the interesting thing is, especially when we're talking about all the systems and AI and stuff like that, one thing I love, especially doing the research about your story, is also is full of intense personal pressures in which you went through, um, and the way that you run your company, how you move forward. And you've been open about this. So what has it done to you personally, especially, with your personal life from, growing in a different type of relationship with your wife, your children, and in your family in general, and dealing with the court system?
Yeah, I mean the court stuff with ex partner has definitely given me perspective on what's important in life, and it's mainly about like controlling the controllable stuff. So like
Um,
the court thing's been going on for the last, what are we up to now? Year 7, I think.
yeah,
It still hasn't wrapped up. It's still, hopefully we're getting to the
jeez.
end. And I say every year, or I have for the last 7 years, been like, this year's going to be the end of it.
Yeah,
Um, and it's really interesting from like people's external perspective. Is like, well, surely you can just wrap it up. Just agree and wrap it up.
yeah,
And it's like in some situations, that's just not possible, and
mhm,
you have to walk the path. Um, and so the thing with it is like I had two options.
yeah,
It took about 3 or 4 years to realize this, but it was just about, like I say, controlling what you can control.
yeah,
And the only person that's been here for my whole life is me. So I'm the only one that's
yeah,
responsible for where I am.
yeah,
Obviously, there's a couple of people in a relationship, so you can call it 50-50. You can call it whatever you want in terms of I wasn't perfect, the other person wasn't perfect either. So, there's fault on both sides there. You have to accept that and move forward. And I think it really comes down to that like resilience. I can focus on the stuff that I'm being dragged into off on the side that I haven't got an end date, because, and I think that's the thing with being a guy as well, is
yeah,
is you're like, cool, like there's a problem. I just need to do this, 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 and this, and it's fixed. And then we move on to the next thing. Like it's
Yeah.
done. You have a problem with your car, you just go and fix it.
Yeah.
But with this, you can't do that
Yeah.
because it operates in its own system. It operates on its own time frame. And like quick for the court system is like 6 to 12 months.
Mm.
And then something pops up and then something's not filed correctly. So it's another 12 months. And so that was the thing with it was like,
Yeah.
right, okay, cool, that's happening. I can't speed this up. I can't magically fix this. Let's
Yeah.
just go down the path and let that simmer away and do its thing, and then I'll
Yeah.
carry on. And I think as soon as I came to that realization, that's when things started to change dramatically for us. Because previous to that, like you get some, like a letter from a lawyer accusing you of doing a whole lot of stuff. And it would just like derail me for the day. I'd be like, well, that's not who I am. I haven't done any of this stuff.
Mm.
Why, then you fall into the victim mode and then the days, you're in your head and the day's cooked. As opposed to like, right, cool. Nothing happens quickly. I don't need to reply to this afternoon. I don't need to read this today. I've got other stuff that I need to go and do with my life. And if I read it at some point, I go and read it.
Yeah.
And that's more so the changing in mental framework and, what can I control? How do I want my day to be? And then how do I get better? Or how do I use the struggle to get better?
And that's a pretty I would say situation that happens, especially with men or men who played sports or
Yep.
athletes or done any type of stuff. We compartmentalize
Mm.
a lot. As a young man who went through a divorce, man, and it took, I want to say, a good six years for it to process through. I learned a lot, a lot about the court system, a lot
Yep.
how it views the guy, the gentleman in the court system, which was not. I'm not sure how it is really in New Zealand, but it's not good in the States at all. And it taught me a lot about, like you said, about myself. Like,
Yep.
hey, at the end of the day, no one's gonna come rescue me, and I have to fight through it. So and I can't sit there and worry about this consistently,
Yep.
so I have to compartmentalize that and put that into a framework and deal with it when I can, but I need to move forward. And
Yep.
man, I would say when that situation happens and when you're going through that, do you see your circle kind of get smaller because of your choice not to fester in that, but move forward in what you see as a potential to grow you?
Yeah, I think so. I think as you grow, you have friends for a reason or a season. I think, and those
Yeah.
friends change over time. I think the other tricky bit with the separation divorce side of things is that not many of your friends not many of my friends at the time. I was the only one that had been like through a separation and divorce, and they just don't get it. The stress and the pressure, and they've never had legal letters being fired their way, and that's not their fault. And I wish that don't wish that upon anyone. Um, but I've got a friend now that's going through similar thing, but I seem to be the one that he calls all the time because I'm the only one that's been through it that he knows. Um,
Mm.
and so that also becomes the tricky thing. So the people that you can talk to about it, also decrease as well, depending on who your friends group is.
And it's kind of crazy because, like, and it's what's interesting to me about this whole thing. And, as we transition from talking about your business and how you see your business, right, and to your personal life and how that all, combines together of basically how now it shapes your framework, and your mindset. It kind of sounds like your mindset is kind of like a hard type mindset, but your leadership language sounds surprisingly like very optimistic, like human, like really like open, right? I would say there had to be a lot of tension for your story, right?
Yeah.
And I love it. Like, I guess what I'm trying to say is, how do you build a hard spine without becoming hard hearted?
I think the thing for me is that I've got an amazing now wife who's been phenomenally supportive. You need some people in your corner, man. Is the thing. And the friend that I was telling you about, or mentioned before, he said to me the other day, he's like, after everything you've been through, I don't know how you're not overweight, drinking a heap, and taking drugs. And I said to him, I was like, well, I wouldn't have my wife and I wouldn't have our 8-month-old son if that was the choice that I made.
Yeah.
It was like a super easy choice because it would have been the thing to do. Is like the excuse. Well, I've had all these things, so all I do is drink, smoke, take drugs, and the world's against me.
Yeah.
But I mean, like that was part of me for a little while. There was the drinking side of things, and then I woke up one day and went, I'm sick of the hangovers. This isn't good for my relationship. Um, I just need to stop, and I stopped drinking maybe 4 or 5 years ago. But that's the other part to it is like the decisions that you make, um, the resilience that you have. Because like for me, it's like, what are my other options?
Yeah.
I throw my dreams away because I've had something bad happen to me,
Yeah.
or do I just carry on because the upside is infinitely better than staying in the position that I am. And if I stay in the position that I'm in, then I can just blame the rest of the world for the rest of my life, and I can be miserable, or I can go out there and do something.
Yeah.
And I'd rather go out there, do something, and find out that it doesn't work to say I've given it a crack than to be the one that is sitting at home drinking a weekend and feeling sorry for myself.
No, 100%. You're not wrong, and I just like how you said you did partake in drinking and stuff like that, right? And it's so codifying in my life because going through the separation, divorce, and stuff of that nature. Um, as I got trying to get over it, had help from my current wife when we was together. And I remember she was like, "You're drinking, quite a lot," and then, she was worried about me. And I said, I said, I'm going through this situation, and it's only for a season, right?" And I said, "Please just allow me to go through this process." I said, I don't know how long it's gonna last." I said, "But I know it's a process, right? And I know I can't do it forever." And then one day, like the light bulb came on, and I just stopped and never went back to it. And then, and she was like, "Wow, see, and I said, well, I just had to get through the process. And it's
Yeah,
similar to exactly what you're saying of how I, thought through the process, influence something better for myself.
yeah.
I will say like, how does it, like as we talk about how to bridge that mentality into what we're doing now and how you build strong, when you help someone else, like with your business, you help people buy better. What are you trying to help them protect, not just build?
I suppose protect where they've come from, protect the current situation that they've got
Yeah,
at the moment is the key thing. Protect their financial upside or protect their financial downside as much as we possibly can. I
yeah,
mean, like everything in life, there's risk associated with it, but
yeah,
I suppose our mission is to try and reduce the risk for the investor. And it's like everything, as I say, once you've walked the path and you've shone the light further down the path than where that person's been, then it makes it easier to do. And I think to help someone else, you've really only got to be 1 or 2 steps ahead of where they are in their current situation. One step's enough because you've done something that they haven't quite done yet.
So as we transition to my last question, and my last question is for you, like, is when your kids are old enough to really understand your story, what do you hope they say you were building for, not just what you
I
built?
think for me, it's more so the money sides and the wealth sides part of it. And I think the big thing for me with kids' future is that we built a family that my kids wanted to come back. That you
Mm,
can have all the money in the
okay.
world, you can have all the wealth in the world, but when your kids leave home at 17, 18, do they want to come back and see you? And I think
Man,
that's the key.
love that. My God, that's amazing. That's amazing. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. Man, it's Hadley, man. Please tell us how can we get on track with what you're doing from your social medias to what you're doing with your website, how you're basically teaching a person be a better buyer.
Yeah, best place to get a hold of us is on Instagram at Hadley Nightingale, and shoot me a DM, and happy to have a conversation there. And in terms of we've got our website, things like that, with based in the US, then we can help you out with the strategic side of purchasing what you're thinking of, and there's that too, as opposed to just being New Zealand focused. So a few options there. Send us a message, and happy to have a chat.
Heck yeah. Well, thank you so much for being on the show, man. And for being honest and just very revealing in depth. Man, I appreciate your time. I know this conversation is going to resonate with so many different people, especially, as you build, yourself out, of course, situations, but that doesn't end. Uh, that's only the beginning of your
Yep.
growth. So thank you so much. And everyone enjoy. Please go and support. And if you have anything that's going on with your property, real estate, or you want to buy and get into, please see this man first. So thank you guys.
Thanks so much.
Peace.